That's kind of eastern part of Gallup, New Mexico. And that's where I'm from, and I'm glad to be here. It's always good to be able to share a story and how does it all relate. It's amazing how things just kind of connect. We're all connected, you know, in some way, and it's beautiful to be able to keep that in mind at all times.
All right, and we're going to start with a couple of stories from Reggie, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about the elements of storytelling, and then we're going to ourselves practice maybe experimenting with finding a story that we'd feel comfortable taking and talking about and workshopping that here as a group. And you know, we have about 50 minutes to do this together, so we'll be moving along, but we hope you can take some of it home. So Reggie's going to start us off.
That's hand clapping there. Okay. Let's see here. Let's all first do something quite challenging, okay, now that we're nice and comfortable sitting in our chairs. So when I say 1, 2, 3, we're going to go ahead and just stand up, okay? 1, 2,
I can do it.
3. I was just checking to see if you all were paying attention. Okay. I am? I do? Okay. I will speak up. So this part of it is the most challenging part of the whole presentation, and what I would like for us to go ahead and do is to be able to relax our shoulders. Good. And then look up and down. Up, down. Okay, look forward. Now head to the side, 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 and side. Now you can grab one wrist. And as you get that wrist, you can shake that hand. Shake that hand as hard as you can. Move it around now. Now I want you to hum. Very good. Grab the other hand. Be careful not to slap your face, okay? Move it around and hum. Good. Now relax the arms. Like so. And then just kind of shake the shoulder and the arms. Good. Just like that, very good. Now, this again, raise one leg. You can grab a hold of the chair desk and then shake that leg. Shake that leg. Now the ankle, leg, ankle. Now other side, shake that leg, ankle, leg, ankle. Now shake both legs, bend the arms, wiggle around. And I want you to be able to growl. Okay, good, sit down. Very good job.
Only Americans can do this.
Only the
Europe are serious people.
only that's I like that. I like she said that only the Americans can do this. And I believe that this is what's kind of lost within our own selves. If we want to be able to relay a message, if we want to be able to share story, then we have to be able to stay connected with that child inside. It is wrong for us to be able to disconnect ourselves and feel that we are too serious. We take ourselves too serious where the vital energy in ourselves is not shared with other people. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Especially in relation to talking to children. This is what it all matters. Like the story we're going to talk about today. Like I said before, everything is connected. If we can get comfortable with ourselves by shaking and humming and doing all this kind of craziness, then we haven't lost that essence of who we truly are. If we are connected in that way, people can take us more seriously because we can get silly. People can take us more seriously because we can laugh at ourselves. It's when we become too afraid, too restricted, that we become confined, and then we become sick. We will become sick up here, and then we'll be judgmental. That person's not well. Look at how he acts, talks, walks. We become too judgmental. He's this color, or she's that. She's this way. Not where I come from. When we come from a people that is willing to laugh. My grandmothers, my grandfathers express themselves so eloquently, but they do it in a funny, in a way where they can tease, where it builds the thick skin. So when we get older, we don't take things too seriously and get offended too easily. All of this stuff here is about storytelling to me. The storytelling that I want to share with you now starts off like this. Once upon a time, there was a magical place where it never rained. The end. Have you guys seen the movie Holes? It's a funny old movie, and that sign, it's with I forget his name, but anyway, yeah, Shiloh. But then what was the older fellow in there, the mean guy? Mm-hmm. Yeah, but he's the one that told the story to the guys that were there. They were digging holes in the desert to try to find some treasure, and he tells this story about where a place that never rained because it didn't really seem to rain there. And he goes, the end. And it was so funny. Anyhow, okay, so now here's the story. There is a long, epic story about the creation story of the Navajo people. It is, when I say epic, I'm not, people throw that around, oh, it's an epic story. And when it's just not really all that epic at all. But in this particular epic story, the creation starts off from the first world, second world, third world, and fourth world. Okay, and this connects us on how the creation of the world was developed for us to be here and now in the fourth world, to exist and live in actual harmony. That the struggles that the earth had to go through for us to live today. And this is important to me because we, as a people, five-fingered people, we have, within the last 100 years, destroyed a lot of the beauty that was here for us. To me, and indigenous people alike view this place as something that is already holy and already sacred. We are living in paradise already here. And it's like, and we kind of like, shame on us for sitting there saying that this and there's something more out there, for me. So I can live recklessly now because I'm going to go to a place of more grander paradise, which is to me is a wrong mentality of how to be the best that we can be here now. And so within this long epic journey, okay, and now there is a part where now this creation of this story starts off where now there's monsters now on earth. And in these great monsters, they kill the people that are living here. Okay, and there are the eagle that can snatch and kill or eat. There's monsters that will push you off cliffs. There are monsters that will, crush and all of these scary monsters that exist out there. And there is this beautiful story about first man looking up into the mountains where he sits. And on where he lives, there are parts of the Navajo Nation that are, everything they say, everything to the Native American, is sacred, and people laugh at that. And when in actuality it is. To be breathing, to be walking, to be talking, to be in motion, all of these things are sacred things. Can everybody do this? All right? We did all that. When you hurt yourself, is it easy to do this? It's hard. Now, can you imagine this being taken away from you? Where will the struggle be at? And so there's teaching in everything about ourselves. And it's up to us to be able to look at every moment and what is that telling us? What are we being taught for us to be better human beings? Does it make sense? So in this, first man sees this fire up on the mountain. He knows that something spectacular is happening up there. He tells first woman, I'm going to take a journey up there. And all the while that he goes up there to be able to figure out and find out what's on top of this mountain, because there's a cloud up there. There's thunder, there's lightning, but yet there's fire up there. And then as he's walking up there, he's preparing his mind already by singing songs like, I am beautiful, I am on this walk. I will think this way, be this way, act this way, chanting as he's singing along, going up this mountain. And as he gets to the very top, he sees eloquent deity. They also refer to this one as talking God. And talking God, he sees and says, is that talking God over there? And then sure enough, and he sees talking God doing this with his arms, right? And then he hears eloquent deity say stuff like, woo, Things like that, right? And then he hears a baby sound now. He gets closer, and then eloquent deity looks over and sees first man come up and he says, oh, hey, hello, finally, you're here. I've been waiting for you, first man. And then the first man looks and he notices, he goes, come a little bit closer, see the baby. And as he gets closer, he looks, and there's a cradle board. In the cradle board, he sees that there's these lightning flashes or lightning arrows that are holding clouds. And in this cloud now, on the cradle board, he sees, the arch right here on it. And that serves, and it's a beautiful rainbow. And then within the rainbow, he gets close and he looks into, the cradle board, and he sees a turquoise face. And that's when eloquent deity then says, this is turquoise girl. And it's your responsibility now to care for her for 12 days. First man says, I don't know anything about taking care of a baby. And he says, well, that's why first woman is there to help you in this process of 12 days. And he goes, oh, okay, right? Okay, I get it. And so then now he grabs, he holds, and he sees this. And she goes, 12 days now you will come back. Feed the baby, like the deer broth. To feed the baby a certain type, like tchadadine, or is referred to as corn pollen. Put it in and make sure that she gets a lot of exercise. And then we'll see how well, and teach her about herself and the beauty that she comes from, and of the beauty of who you are. So then he goes back down. It's a beautiful story all the way down. Talks to an eloquent, first woman now sees him coming. Right away already knows that there's a baby. Okay, she runs over there, grabs hold, and he then talks to her about the 12 days, how to care for her, what to do, and so on and so forth. They go into their home, and right away they start taking care of her. Turquoise girl, first day, second day goes by fairly quickly. She's starting to grow really fast. She's starting to crawl, walk, move about. They feed her all the stuff that she's supposed to be fed. She starts to get to a certain 4 or 5 years old where she's starting to move about, and move freely and run around. And they have to be able to teach her things that are appropriate and what is not appropriate, how to carry herself, how to move about, what is respectful to the land that she's a part of, to the teachings that she's been taught. Now that she's 7, 8 years old, she starts to understand a little bit more about hardship. She's given chores. She's told, all of the nurturing that she's been brought up with. Now she's able to do more work, to be able to teach her certain things around the house. So the time that she becomes on the 12th day, the turquoise on her face disappears. She makes this transformation. She turns into this beautiful young maiden. And at that point, she's referred to as changing woman. And so there's the way she carries herself she is aware of what she's saying. She is aware that her words can be healing and also very hurtful. She is aware that her touch can also be healing and it could be full of love, but she also can hurt with how she touches. It's like the old Buddha saying, how do you know the difference between love and like? When you like a flower, you go and pluck it, right? Ooh, pretty, mine. But if you love that flower, you will water it. Do you see what I mean? So now first man now takes her up into the mountain. And then eloquent deity is there and is pleased with her. And pleased with how she moves about. And understands this whole process. And why I love that part of that story so much is because of the fact that It teaches us how to be able to interact with our children and those around us. If we are really aware of what we do, we will be, like one of the stories, what are your ears for? Can anybody tell me? You guys are all smart people, right?
Supposed to.
Yeah. What are these for? To hear, to listen to what? How many of you guys got degrees in here? Went to school for something? Do something important in the community. Hear, listen and hear what? The words that are coming out of your mouth. It is to hear your own words and to listen to your own words coming out of your mouth. Are you talking in a way that is healing, comforting, beautiful, especially to your wife, to your husband, to your spouse, or to your partner, or to your children, or those around you, your community, to plants, to animals, to the trees, to the world? What is coming out of your mouth? Or are you oblivious to what you're really saying and you're hurtful and destructive, and you are one who is making not only things around you sick, but you're also making your own, you're allowing yourself to stay sick. Does that make sense? This is the power of indigenous teachings. When you're taught these things, this now becomes, you know how they say the left wing or the right wing? Seriously, which side is better? Right. It's like children. Which one's my favorite one? Well, but there are two wings of the mighty eagle, right? So what's in the middle? We talked about today. It is the wisdom and the teachings, the heart. If the wisdom and the teaching is not there, this eagle cannot move forward. You see? It is the wisdom and the teachings. This is what will build us together. It is this substance that we're sharing right here, right now about this, to see if you're a true leader. My grandfather's name was Khadnagadni. Okay, the one that looked about you to see if you're a friend or foe. The one that will check your words. The one that will see to see if you're true to yourself and what is around you. By just how he looked, by what he saw, how do you carry yourself? How are you representing yourself? Will tell you a lot about how you care about you, your love, your family, your community, and all this kind of business. To see if you're worth, or are you with split tongue? Or are you just tell me what I want to hear? You see? So anyway, like I said about this long epic journey, now I probably got 2 minutes, right? I am 5 minutes over. But anyhow, the changing woman then becomes a woman. She falls in love with the sun. She opens herself up to the sun. She births 2 twin boys. Monster Slayer, Child of Water, are the one that sucks the energy or the breath out of the enemy. And these 2 go off and kill the monsters, except for 4. They leave old age, cold, hunger, and poverty behind. Because each one of these things teach us about ourselves. Cold, he goes and sees cold woman. As Monster Slayer is told about, she brings and she freezes the earth. She freezes the land, the lakes, and seeds that can't plant, and also does harm to crops like corn. And so Monster Slayer says, "I will go, and I will kill her." So then he makes his journey up the mountain. The wind tells her where she lives. He goes up there, and then after that, he goes and sees her. Grandmother Cold walks up toward him. She's shaking, she's old, she's hunched over, and she's holding a cane for support. She looks at him. She says, "Yeah, hey, grandson," or "Good morning, grandson." And he says, "Oh, grandmother, you know why I'm here?" And he says, "I'm here to kill you." And she says, I know. And she says, but before you do so, hear me. If you do kill me, this world will get hot. If you do kill me, there will be things that are not to exist that will make the people sick. She says, if you don't allow this to happen, the world will not have the water or the natural water that will come. So the monster slayer takes a step back and then says, I understand, forgive me. And then he goes home without a trophy. Those stories like that tell us about the importance and our balance as five-fingered people. Our sole responsibility as humans is to care and protect the living, whether it be an ant, an animal, the ocean, the sea, the creatures, crawling creatures, flying creatures, all of that. That is our responsibility, whether we understand it or not. We are here to protect and to serve them because they don't really, if we understand that mind, body, spirit, emotional connection, and the natural elements of the world, that's what holds us together. You see? The earth doesn't need us, but we sure as heck do need it. This is why I like CCL, because I believe that it has the right approach to be able to bridge these two gaps of the right and the left, and how to do it in a bipartisan way. That's what speaks to me very well. I like to be able to bring this mind and emotion, feeling, love, spirit back into it. The middle part, the most important part. Thank you.
Thanks, honey. So I'm just going to give a quick summary of a couple points specifically about storytelling. So storytelling, we all do all the time. It's part of every culture, every tradition in the world. Some of us were blessed to grow up with 1,000 years of stories that have been carefully honed to teach just so. And some of us, many of us have not, I think, but we still have the stories and our traditions and things that are passed on, things that we grow up with. And every day we're telling stories. Honey, what time are you going to be home? Oh, I don't know. Like, I had this crazy patient come in and she had this whole history and it really moved me. And so I decided to stay late and give her some extra time. So now I'm behind. So I'll be a little late. You know, we don't say, I'll be home at 6. We fill it in. And that comes very naturally to us because that's how we connect. There's information in stories, whether it's epics that are, carefully passed on, or whether it's just how we communicate every day. We're communicating information, kind of physical, factual information, biological information, social information. We're passing on information, but we are wired to retrieve that and remember that and produce that best when we get it in narrative form. And we can use this, and people are starting to use this as part of climate conversations, that this is who we are. We're social creatures, and we may as well take advantage of this in the climate movement. So when we are telling stories, if facts were going to do it, it'd be done by now, right? We need something more. We're social creatures. We want to connect. We can use stories to inform, to pass on information. We can use stories to motivate people, to connect them to something that I care about, to expand them a little bit, to help them empathize, to inspire. We can be stretched by stories, and we can demonstrate how to model behavior with stories of something I did or something I wish I'd done or something that Monster Slayer did. How we tell effective stories, it's helpful if we practice, and it's helpful if we think about it, if we really want to be effective with it. So I think it's worth it to take a little bit of time to put a little bit of effort into this. So when we're thinking about a story that's going to be effective, the most important thing is that it's true, and then it comes from us, and that it's authentic. We want it to be personal, and there is a lot of power in a little bit of vulnerability in the right way, and whatever we're comfortable with in this scenario. Truth is more important than fact, and I hope you understand what I mean that, nothing misleading, but that something that is true to you, people can smell and feel truth, and they can't smell and feel facts. And so if we can find that in ourselves, people will pick up on it. It's okay to not be talking about fixing the whole world with a story. It can be your backyard, your child, your 5-minute experience the other afternoon. It can be something small, because we will naturally connect that to ourselves and connect that to things, something bigger, if it really resonates with us. And it's okay to laugh at yourself. Nobody ever, the smartest, most perfect, most rigid person in the world isn't who everybody wants to be around all the time. When we laugh at ourselves, we give other people permission to laugh at themselves and to laugh at us as well. So there's a few different formulas for this. One formula that I'm going to offer today is from the YaleClimateConnections.org is the website. This is their most recent map. They go all over the country, and they get little 3-5-minute stories from people about climate change. And so you can go all over the country and find these and listen to them, and you can put your own up. And our Wild West region has a good number of stories out there, although plenty of space left to do. And there's actually, compared to last year when we did this workshop to this year, there's like a dozen websites out there that are groups that are putting together climate stories. People know that this is a potent area. And so one little story that I can give you is that coming from my perspective, I grew up with bird watching with my mom, and I love birds, and I learned just sort of what was there in Wisconsin where I grew up. And I loved waking up in the morning and having my window cracked open and hearing birds all the time, and sort of how the sounds would change over the year. And we have three boys together, and I saw a piece the other day from Audubon about how there are 3 billion fewer birds today than there were 50 years ago because of us. And a lot of that is climate change and other stuff, but that's probably just going to get worse. And that's devastating to think about 30 years ago in my childhood not being available. It is quieter. The mornings are quieter. There's less birdsong right now for my boys to hear. And by the time they're my age and their kids, like, is there going to be birdsong? That's devastating to me to think about. And that's just a little sliver. So when we're thinking about stories that we can tell, the Yale Climate Connections formula includes something is changing in my community. Is it in my backyard? Is it at work? Is it patients that I'm seeing? Is it when I look at the mountain? Whatever it is. Is it a food? Is it anything? Something is changing. Something is different than it was before, either from my personal experience or something that I've heard. I can relate it to climate change. You can always relate it to climate change. Everything that we care about is dependent on a stable climate. And it's a fun thought experiment, sort of fun, to figure out how that is the case. It matters to me that my boys can hear birds and see birds and be inspired and excited by the natural beauty of a wild animal 3 feet from their face in our backyard. That's incredible. It matters to us. And then we're in CCL, so that's not where we stop. We add this piece that says, and this is what I'm doing about it. That is why I went to Boulder this weekend. That is why I go to DC every summer. That is why I publish my letters to the editor in the paper and I write my congressperson. Because this matters to me, this is what I do about it. And I have something that I can do about it. So we're going to take a few minutes to come up with some ideas for ourselves. If you want to find one little piece, one story, something that you can hang on to, you can think about it being personal, being meaningful, keeping it quick, something that's easy for you to remember and explain, and something that's compelling. And we can each have 2 or 3 or 4 of these that we've put a little thought into, and then at certain situations they can come out in a lobby meeting with a patient. I want my healthcare system that I work for to start having more solar and having a better environmental footprint, so I can take little stories to them. So it's nice to sort of have a bank of these that are all true. They're not made up. They really mean something to us. So we're going to give you guys about 10 minutes to do this, and here's some prompts if you would like, although if you already know what you want to talk about, that's great. But these prompts are, when I think of climate change, it reminds me of blank. I'm concerned about climate change as a blank issue, coffee issue, beer issue, basketball issue, I don't know, I don't know what you care about, but you can connect it somehow. I've noticed blank change in my community. So we'll give you a couple of minutes silently, and then we're going to have you get together in groups for about 10 minutes and share your stories and see if you can give each other some feedback and just practice saying it out loud. And then we'll share a little bit with the group.